A guy was summoned to another world to become their hero, but he was banished from the kingdom from being level 1, only to find out he was actually the most overpowered person in that world. Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to be recapping chilling in another world with level 2 super cheat powers. So, without further ado, let's recap. In the royal capital Paluma, demi-humans are loading a chariot with cargo while being whipped by humans. A guy named Banaza comes and thanks them for the job well done, and tells that some other cargo might arrive later. He tells one of the demi-humans to eat with his companions while they wait, and hands him a bag of money, to the disgust of the other humans who are around. The demi-human does not want to accept the money, but Banaza insists, because he's the one making them wait. A girl gets close and says that, once he makes an offer, he won't take no for an answer. So the demi-human takes the money and calls the others to go eat, asking them to thank Banaza on their way out. The other humans call him a hypocrite and go away. Banaza doesn't understand why humans and demi-humans can't get along, but the girl says there are a lot of people in the capital who don't feel that way. Suddenly, Banaza's body begins to glow, and when the girl looks at him, he was gone. Banaza doesn't know why he was chosen. He just knows that now he is in that world. The summoning of the 198th hero candidate was a success, an elder says, while Banaza appears in the middle of a room surrounded by people he doesn't know. The elder welcomes him to the magical kingdom of Clyrode, calling him a hero candidate. Banaza doesn't understand what all of that means, because he's just a merchant. The elder explains that, in their desperate attempt to defeat the Dark Army, they summon hero candidates from other worlds according to their tradition, in hopes that they will help them fight the Dark Army. He is asked to put his hands on a crystal ball to assess his powers. As a reward for returning to level 1 after being summoned to their world, candidates receive divine blessings from their gods, powers one cannot achieve by simply training, powers called divine revelations. Banaza realizes he can read the language of that world, but the others realize he didn't receive any divine revelation. He just had the stats of a common man, like he himself had said. The people wonder if they had failed again, but before Banaza can ask them to send him back home, another candidate gets his revelation next to him, and he possesses powers worthy of the legendary hero. He was the one chosen to be the hero of that world. While the king nominates the blonde guy as their hero, Banaza is sad that nobody is listening to him. He looks around and thinks that he had never heard of the magical kingdom of Clyrode before, so it must actually be a different world. But the only thing in his mind is that they need to send him back home. They put him in a carriage in a harsh manner and leave the castle, while he wonders how that could have happened to him. Before, the king's advisor said that the gate that had brought Banaza there were already closed, so he could not be sent back. It was a failure on their nation's part, so as a reward, they would allow him to take residence in the Della Vesa forest in the north and live the rest of his life there, but he could not speak of that to anyone. He wants to talk to the driver, but he says he's not allowed to talk to him. He says he just wants to know more about that place, because he's from far away, and he asks the driver if he's on a slave contract with the kingdom. He says that, even though his pay is not that great, he's not a slave. Banaza tells him about how demi-humans are treated in his world, and the driver says it might be a horrible place. There, it doesn't matter if you're a human or a demi-human, everyone is treated equal. Banaza wants to know more about the Della Vesa forest, but the driver doesn't want to talk anymore. Someone has said something about a dark one, but Banaza thinks that this world must not be that bad. 20 days later, they finally arrive at the entrance of the forest. The driver hands him a gift from the king, a bottomless bag with enough food and money to last him for a while. He says there are rumors that the Dark Army lurks around in the forest, and he advises Banaza to get away from there as soon as he can. When the carriage leaves, he touches the bag and its stats appear in front of him, just like in his old world. It has money, clothes, food, water, everything he needs. He clicks on the sword and picks it up, realizing it's just a cheap one. Some slimes appear next to him, and he thinks they are not going to attack, but he's wrong. The slimes jump at him and he slices through them, which is enough to break the terrible sword he got. A message appears in front of him, telling him his level had increased, and now all his stats are infinite, but he doesn't understand what that symbol means. Also, now he can activate voice guidance. He turns it on and the voice says that, now that he has leveled up, he can use the following spells without opening a window. Then, several notifications appear around him, and he is overwhelmed. The voice says the skills location tracking, monster luring, and forced recovery had been applied to his bag, and that was why the slimes attacked him. He wonders if someone wanted him dead, and tells the voice to remove the skills from the bag. He's not wasting time thinking about how those weak-ass spells were put in his bag. Now, he just needs to find a safe place where he can protect himself. As soon as he tries to enter the forest, a warning message appears, saying that the place is contaminated by a high amount of malicium, a substance emitted and dispersed by demons that is highly toxic for humanoids. The voice asks him if he wants to purify the forest, and he says yes. The spell will consume a third of his magic, but he has to do it because he's going to live there. The spell emits a blinding light through the forest, but nothing feels or looks different. Then, Banasa starts receiving dozens of messages saying he has leveled up. Back at the capital, the first princess confronts the king, saying that sending Banasa to the Delaveza forest was too cruel because of the rumors about the Dark Army being there, and also because it was their fault he couldn't go back to his world. But the king says he was just a piece of trash unsuited to be their hero. Then, one of the elders calls the king and says there was evidence that the highest holy magic of all, purification, was just used. The king says it was probably the blonde guy who was chosen as their hero. He was impressed that he could already cast such a powerful magic, and is happy he was the one he chose. But the elder says the magic was not cast in the south, where the hero was headed, but in the north, in the Delaveza forest, where Banasa was. Speaking of him, he was now level 367, even though he hadn't killed any more monsters. He hides the level up notifications and wonders how much magic he has left, only to find out it had been refilled already, and he thinks he doesn't have much magic at all. He doesn't know if his lame purification spell did any work, but he can't live in town. The voice suggests he uses shapeshift magic, and he thinks it would be useful, because no one would recognize him. Then he transforms into a very hot girl, but he's embarrassed because he's going to have to live in this new body from now on. So he turns back into a different guy. The voice suggests a teleportation spell, so he can go straight back into the capital, and that's what he does. He thinks teleportation spells are basic in that world, because back home, only high-skilled sorcerers could use them. He tries teleporting back to his old world, but it obviously fails. Now he needs to make money, and he decides to go look for guilds. It would be hard to enter a merchant's guild without knowing anyone, so he goes looking for an adventurer's guild instead. The voice guides him to the Clyroad Castle Town Adventurers Guild. The guild system there is similar to his old worlds. You get better rewards after completing harder quests, and he decides to register. He doesn't want to use his real name, so he registers as Fleo, which was the name of a dog he once had. He gets his tag and starts looking for quests, when he hears a girl asking for an escort to the Delaveza forest, but no one is willing to help her, even though she can pay, because of the Dark Army rumors. A punitive force will be sent out there soon enough, so she should just wait, but she wants to help her family who live there. Fleo says he can help her, because he's been to the forest before, and it would be easy to go back with his teleportation magic. The other people seem shocked with the kid that can use teleportation spells, because no one can use them, and he realizes that maybe it wasn't a basic spell. Suddenly, Rosa of the Royal Knights shows up, asking him to step away from the girl. She doesn't believe a boy like him can use teleportation, and she asks what he's really after. A bunch of other girls face him, forcing him to answer. He explains that he's just an adventurer and invites them to go with them to the forest. They go to an alley where no one would see them, and Rosa says that if this was a trick, he will be punished. But it wasn't a trick. Fleo uses the teleportation spell and takes everyone to the Delaveza forest. The witch girl asks him if he's a great sorcerer of the highest order, but he's just a rookie adventurer who can use a bit of magic, and Rosa and the others apologize for being rude to him. The girl doesn't understand what happened, because there is no sign of Malicium in the forest, and she was sure it was covered in a thick layer of it. Fleo tries to explain, but the voice says it's dangerous to say you use purification in front of a demon. He doesn't understand, but the girls do, and ask him to get behind them. Rosa asks the girl to show her true form, and says there was a report of a suspicious girl trying to reach the forest, the place where the Dark Army is. The girl finally shows her true self, and says that a knight employed by the castle has some nerve talking like that to her. Then she turns into a gigantic wolf. She is Fenris, younger sister of Fenrir of the Infernal Four, a lupine. Her brother had sent her to observe the enemy and find food, but she needs them to die. She releases a wave of Malicium that affects all of them, except for Fleo. She attacks him, but he manages to evade her. He can't run away and protect all 4 girls, so he decides to teleport them back to the castle. He still doesn't know why he was chosen, but he's not going to be killed before he gets to do anything in that world, so he decides to use every single spell he has. Well, that was the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, hit the notification bell so you won't miss anything new. And I'll see you on the next video. Bye bye.